That's
Started getting Fidium installed at our house, and the Fidium guys said that our neighbor's tree is like growing up into the power lines and they can't do any work there until it gets trimmed. They suggested that we call our power company to you, to ask if it's trimmed. Is that something that you would do? If so, how do we set it in motion?
You just did.
You just did.
On the Senate, up on the hill still.
It's the neighbor's house. I think their address is 1200 Vermont 100C. It's like an apple tree.
Wondering if that one that you got was, did you get it in Johnson? No. Yeah. Yeah, I see that thing up by Frank. Or
Oh, yeah.
Pete's.
If they're gonna do that, is that something they
Opening
can do
morning.
pretty soon,
Yeah,
or something that
or
might happen
weekend.
like in the
At
next
night. but
year when
during
they get
morning.
around to it, or?
In the dark, in the headlights.
Yeah, man, they were.
I mean, weather-wise, it might not work right now, but
Yeah,
you know, we could probably get to it. If you can't do it in the winter, which I'm not saying you can't, you know, we get to it early summer.
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
If it is what Fidium says is, which I'm not gonna necessarily agree that it is, those guys are sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess I don't really know. I haven't even paid attention to it. My husband said after he talked to the video guy when he was driving by, he was looking up and noticing, oh, it seems like the power line really goes right through the top of the tree. It
Okay.
seems like.
okay, they're probably right then. Okay. I'll give it to Nate.
Great, thanks.
Ready, Eric?
Hold on.
Bring the meeting to order, 6 P.M., January 13th, 2025. Join me for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, any adjustments or changes? Okay, review and approve minutes for the trustee meeting, December 9th, 2024. We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Fire department report and any action items. Chief's gonna read his report.
Yeah.
I get out of one report.
You're welcome, Eric.
What? Yes, awesome.
The period of November 30 to December 26, 2024. The fire department responded to 8 calls. 5 of those occurred during the daytime, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 3 of those occurred during the nighttime. The average duration of those calls was 63 minutes. Went to 1 vehicle crash, 2 automatic alarms, 1 fire alarm, 2 CO alarms, 1 odor investigation, and 1 public assist, catalog that as an other. Average number of responding firefighters was 10. We had 64 hours of 64 hours of time in service. As miscellaneous notes, we spent time working on the 25 budget, had an opportunity to meet and relay that with the manager, and we are prepared tonight to come in front of the board. That is it.
Thank you, sir. You're on to your budget now. Talk to us.
Okay, for 2025. We ended last year with a small surplus that I think is most easily explained by the fact that we had kind of an average number of an average year in terms of number of calls. We had 115 calls last year. For us, that's kind of an average low. Looking back on the last 2 years with the flood, we had a highlight of 189. So there's a little bit less billable time in terms of the hours of pay and also some of the costs of running the equipment. If you take a look at the last handful of years, as far back as like 6, 8, maybe as much as 10, if you kind of graph those, average calls. Anytime you see a little bit of a downtick, it's oftentimes followed by an uptick. So as we're coming into 25, we're trying to prepare ourselves and this average year is probably not gonna be where we're at. We're expecting the burden to rise a little bit, and so we're trying to be prepared to do that. Overall, the budget considerations are very consistent. No major problems, no major increases. Some of the priorities are no compromise on funding the contributions into our capital plan. The capital truck plan being the apparatus plan and the small tools plan. That is 100% important for us to put our contributions in there to give us a chance of fighting chance of taking on the projects as they come along when the lifespan dictates. So even if we're in difficult times, I'd be advocating for no compromise there. So the capital truck plan, that has a 3.75% growth every year. The small tools plan a little bit less, that has a 3% growth. So the truck plan will be growing about $2,500 and the tools plan will be growing about $400. Vermont minimum wage changed January 1st. It went to $14.01. Our current base rate of pay is $14 an hour on call. Historically, the board has always tried to set that base rate at 50 cents above the minimum wage. So part of what I want to do, or part of what I want to be clear about, is whether it is agreed that by potentially adopting the budget or whether we have a secondary motion. Part of our request overall is to try to do a 50% increase to the base wage to bring it to $14.50.
How did we do that last time, RJ? Was that a separate? Do you remember?
Last year, it was noted in the record and then just adopted. The budget was adopted noting that that was part of the activity. Last year was one of the first years we did not do a separate motion.
What's that?
Separate motion this year. I can't vote.
Historically, we've done a separate motion just to be clean. A couple things that we know are in front of us. We have some water rescue rope, some of the technical rope for some of the technical operations that needs to be replaced. That basically is a lifespan thing, a safety thing. We've sort of taken a look at the inventory. It's going to take us a year or two to get through that, but for the water rescue, for the low angle rescue line item in the budget, we increased that $1,000 this year. That will get through one of our projects. So if you have looked at the budget or if you go down through, there's no real major changes. We added $500 to the labor. 50 cents an hour will generally speaking be about $1,200 hit if we had a really hard year, not hit expense if we had a really hard year. So we're kind of splitting and compromising a little. We added 500 there. I think we can kind of absorb the rest. Like I said, capital planning contributions, we held our planned increases, a few cuts and things like the cost of heating oils and some of the fuels. Overall, our request would be a budget for 2025 of $196,893. That would be growth at 2.44%, which is the equivalent of just under $4,700, so $4,689 growth. So not a huge number. If you choose to entertain that overall budget, there's several ways that you could do that in terms of your contract counts. So the people that contribute to the fire department budget on the income side of the spreadsheet is the village of Johnson. Not only do you own us, but you pay some expenses. The town of Johnson, the town of Waterville, and the town of Belvedere. So potentially there's 4 people, there's 4 parties on the income side. A couple of scenarios to consider if you wanted everybody to have an equal share in that increase. It would be a 2.46% increase to everybody. So the village would take on $1,200, the town would take on just under 2,500, Waterville at 600, and Belvedere at 400. If you, there have been situations in the past where the village has chosen to stay at 0% increase and not increase your expenses. If you wanted to do that, where the village stayed at 0, your remaining 3 contracts on the income side would have a 3 1/3, 3.33% increase. So the town would be at 3,400, Waterville would be just over 800, 816, and Belvedere would be at 525. So not a huge difference. And then we had discussions in the past about doing some sort of a gesture on behalf of the village, if you wanted to consider something around the 1%. To the village, that would be 3% to your other contract towns, and when you actually plug 3% into the spreadsheet, it would put you guys at 0.9. Instead of having like a 3.03 or something. So if you wanted to consider a gesture and have your other towns at 3%, that would be essentially a 1% increase to the village, which is in the neighborhood of $450. Again, the town's in that 3,000 range, Waterville's in that mid 700s, and Belvedere's in that almost 500. So anything that you sort of consider from where I sit is doable, doesn't present any sort of problems with the service and whatever. So at this point, I guess we are requesting for you guys that 196,893 as a budget for the fire department 2025.
Any other questions after we make a motion?
If you wanted to speak generally right now, go ahead.
So, I got a good question to get because you come here just a little bit. So, given the historically the last couple of years rate of the increase in costs and goods and stuff like that, are you confident that this increase will cover potential expenses, unforeseen circumstances coming down the road?
Of course, you can never tell for sure,
Right.
but yeah, I do. I think, depending on the year, you could always get slammed, but I think this is a good compromise that is safe for us five.
Obviously, it's the unknown things that happen, but you've looked at the needs of the department that you know about, and with all the increases, in cost of inflation and stuff like that, you factored all that in your decision, but on your request. Okay. One other question on the fireground ropes. You said a year or two in your request. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be a year. I mean, you won't be able to replace all the ropes in 1 year, will you? Okay, so it's going to take more than 1 year.
Correct. Yes.
Do you anticipate being able to handle that in 2 years, or is there going to be a 2 or 3 year project?
Is that one for me?
Either.
I think we would agree that 2 would be great, but aggressive and maybe 3. The first step that we're looking at is, for rough numbers, a little over $1,000. That does one of the identified pieces. The rest of that stuff adds up to something maybe a little closer to 6 or so, roughly 6,000. We, in conjunction with Rosemary, we oftentimes try to look at our year-end projections and if there is anything we can do to position ourselves. So that might be an opportunity, but it's a small bite into the just under $10,000 project. So I guess I would correct what I said. We won't be able to get it done this year. 2 years is going to be super aggressive. I see it maybe spreading out over 3.
Did you feel that the concerns of the life expectancy of the rope and the safety and stuff like that being factored in, that you're okay with a 3 year project together with those ropes?
I am, because I think that the highlands are the most important, which is what our goal is for this time.
Okay, can you explain what Highline is?
A highline is what controls and picks all the weight with the bolt.
The other ropes are not under as much stress as the Highline rope. Okay.
So the highline will be first.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, sitting here, I'd rather adjust the budget here now if there was a life safety issue. Obviously, you guys aren't concerned about that, so that's good. And then as far as the increase in costs and all the stuff like that, I'd rather adjust it now to come up with a big cut, you know, a surprise at the end of the year, or kind of we got to try to scramble to find the money. So it's easier to do it here and now than it is to try to do it later. So that was the reason for my question.
And I fully agree with Will on that. Darrell, you anything?
No.
Steve? No. BJ? I got one quick question, just about the ropes. Are they in their own separate? Do you have your like ropes all under their own category for replacement and line item budget, or is it bundled in with all water rescue?
It is inventory that's within all of the water rescue. Right now, that is the particular batch of inventory that has a life expectancy that it has essentially exceeded. And the ones that we are taking the most immediate action on, that Kitch spoke to, within the control system, those are the ropes that are under the highest tension and under the highest workload. There is some additional inventory that does need to be replaced, but it is substantially less stress and strain on it. So we've hit the highlights of it right now. Honestly, we're maybe a little bit behind the 8 ball.
So maybe we should look at it, possibly doing like a timeline plan like you did with your helmets, stuff like that, putting it in so that you can start budgeting for that before you actually figure it out next time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that this is a large head or nothing. I'm just saying that your lines, I seen you guys in action during floods. I seen you in action playing with ATV rescue. You guys use stuff all the time for different applications. So if it's something that I feel that if it's something you should start prioritizing more, maybe. I mean, I know you guys have a lot of stuff prioritized, but
it is something that has come to me as a priority. If you kind of, like, if you looked at that, low angle. The low angle water rescue, if you had taken a look at that 5 or 6 years ago, it would have been comparable to where we are today in that $1,500 range, right? And then we've had a couple events where some equipment's been compromised. There's been some replacements through some of the damages we've been through. So we had been diminishing that line item to take care of a few other projects, and now it's time that we have to grow that. It is one of the priorities. I would say that is what needs. I don't want to say immediate attention, but it's in the forefront. And then should there be other budget adjustments outside of the ropes, the best place for any additional monies, in my opinion, would be to go into that large capital savings plan to start closing that gap.
Yeah.
You know, if for some reason you guys said, let's go to a 4 or 5% increase, I would probably get together with the assistant chief and say, let's maybe not spend all of that. Let's move some of that over to help close that gap, and let's get ourselves in a little better position of the ropes, you know, potentially that type of thing. I just don't want to find ourselves, you know, robbing Peter to pay Paul type thing.
yeah, and it's not necessarily, it wasn't directed towards just money wise, but should it, like you said, I didn't know your helmets had an expiration date, so you told us about it. Is it something that where the expiration date parts ought to be implemented into your planning a little further, or just maybe now that it's on your highlight? You know what I mean? Now that you know that it's implemented, that it's regularly checked.
Yes.
Beginnings of the year, and then you can say, well, we gotta replace these ropes in a year and a half. Let's start planning for this rope, that rope.
Yeah, so you hit one of our strategy points, Ken. A lot of that stuff, so coming off the fire, then coming off insurance claims, we got a whole batch of stuff that's all the same age, right? So if we can take this amount of the project and the call it 3 different pieces, budget planning next time spreads that out over a couple of years, and we're not being confronted with such a big animal.
Yep, because next time you might have a different increase that you need it for. And then this falls into the same category on your. But
That's one thing with our history is, you know, you guys are aware of the insurances and all that stuff, but we have a lot of stuff that is at the same age, and everything comes all at once at us, where prior to that.
seen that recently.
Yeah, things were spread out, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden you go through everything on the first floor is new, well, that's significant, right? Now that's a whole different animal.
Okay, what would the board like to do?
Let's make a motion. I would make the motion, and this is separate from the
Pay.
the increase in firefighter pay.
Correct.
Just because I can't vote on firefighter pay, that's fair with you guys. I would propose a budget for the fire department of $197,393 to include a $500 water rescue capital equipment fund. With the village increase at 0 and the balance to be distributed proportionally across town of Johnson, Waterville and Belvedere.
Second.
Okay, so you added basically
I added 500.
500 to their budget.
Just to start that, having a placeholder, whether you guys use that 500 this year or leave it in there for roll over for next year, I'd like to have start an equipment fund for the water rescue.
So if I ask you to read the numbers back to me.
197,393.
And you're looking for them to do what now? Start a
So that
water
the
rescue?
additional 500 is to go towards a water rescue capital equipment fund, I guess would be the term.
Mhm.
That way there in years that you don't use it, we are accruing money to go towards other expenses that we know that are potentially,
Okay, so is this open for discussion?
Oh, yeah.
So. I think the best way to accomplish that, Will, would be just like within the small tools capital plan that was already adopted through the voters. Within that, there are independent contributions for planned exercises. So in that, there is a yearly allotment to buy bunker gear. There is a yearly allotment that goes into the savings for a future project.
Yeah.
I would suggest that we add the low angle ropes as a
line item mandate.
as an individual within that savings, within that capital account, and we don't have to try to establish
Another
anything.
account.
But the
Okay.
benefit of doing that would be that if for some reason we don't expect something out of that particular account at the end of the year, it's still in reserves where we start to slate over on our operating.
So I'll amend my motion for the $500 to go towards small equipment,
As a line
line item
item
for water rescue.
water rescue within small equipment.
Yeah.
You accept that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll agree. I was the one that asked RJ to look at putting in a small 1% for the village because I put for that last year. However, with us discussing,
That's not my motion.
I understand, however, with our discussion of doing work to the fire department, I think the village would do better investing in that. So,
I think that every village taxpayer pays the town rate.
I understand.
So that's on just stating my reasoning is that we're already contributing over everybody else that gets the service.
Yep.
But there's no need to contribute anymore.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now we're I'll be looking for a motion to increase firefighter pay from $14.01 to $14.50 an hour. RJ, this also includes officers and everything, correct?
Right, so the officers have a 50-cent.
I understand that, but so they would also be getting the
It would
50
be
cent.
across the board, we would start the base rate going, it's currently 14 with the January 1 is 14.01, so we would go from 14 to 14.50.
The chief. I motion for pay to be increased from $14 to $14.50 for, I guess.
I'll second it.
Maybe they could make that clear as far as the step pay goes, just 50 cents across the board instead of 14.50.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
It's 50 cents over a minute.
Yeah, okay.
The offers, yeah.
So just amendment to 50 cents across the board for increased pay.
That good for you? Is that acceptable, Steve?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Will abstain because he is a firefighter. Do I have to do a roll call?
Get me those new numbers for the towns. For the customers. So
So it will be a motion was passed
Right. But just like, if, you know, their yearly bill numbers.
Okay, so, Darrell, how did you vote?
Aye.
Steve,
Yes.
BJ,
Yes.
Will,
Same.
chairs aye, motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Good work. I intend to meet up with you guys when you get your chance to discuss our other. I don't know if you want to stick around for that. I can bump it up right now, actually. Okay. So I am gonna bump up our discussion of, should the village set aside X amount of dollars from the Vermont Local Economy Impact Grant for repairs to the fire department building. So this summer walked around looking at clock tower, being BJ, and I started showing him some of the stuff. Cause I was pointing at the clock tower and we turn around and the same stuff's happening at the fire department up high and down low. None of it's really flood related, but we couldn't go that route. But there's, it's been 2005, the fire department was built, completed in fall. So we're, you know, we're 19 full years at least in there right now. Hadn't seen any paint that I know, besides touch-ups and cracked poles, stuff like that. Stu, I've been in construction business a long time. The general rule of thumb is the house needs to be painted anywhere between 7 and 10 years regularly. This was used concrete hardy siding and homosil composite trim work. That was a problem. It should have probably stayed the same route. For one, whenever you put concrete up against any type of wood composite, that's troubles. So, but for 20 years, it's done its job without more paint. So I was talking to Eric about how we could come up with money for this. I've talked to RJ about it. It's not really in the fire department's budget to maintain the building, but to take care of stuff inside and keep it clean and operational. Without them adding a huge line item, and I think we'd have to ask taxpayers for that. This is a route where this grant was designed to make an economic impact on the community to use however the village trustees and Eric and everybody decides would be the best route for it. We could throw every penny of it at the sewer treatment plant. That's probably a good idea. And then bond money for the fire department and then bond money to finish sewer treatment plant. Putting it all in the sewer treatment plant isn't as big of an economic impact. It only hits ratepayers for the most part. Using this grant is an economic impact for the village, the town taxpayers in Waterville and Belvedere also. So we're doing a mutual aid economic impact by doing that. So I'd like to ask the board, this is in conversations with Eric and RJ. I'd like to take $50,000 out of that grant and set it aside for paint and rot repair on the fire department in the next year and a half to get done.
So my question is, since you work construction, where did the number come from? It's if you sit down and look at it, it's gonna cost $32,000 paint, it's gonna cost $10,000, or you just throw 50 out of it, that's a good.
I'm throwing 50 out right now because it's hard to actually get a number on it because I haven't gone through all the rot repair. But I do know it cost at least $30,000 to paint that building. So because of the size, the square footage, there's gonna be a week of caulking alone on there because that siding, they weren't using caulking back then. And now there's a special caulking that's supposed to be used. So it's gapped 1/8 inch from all corner boards, all trim, even where they butt, they're gapped 1/8 inch. So it's a problem. They learn from it and they come with a different route. Rot repair, I could see it being under 10,000 unless there's actual damage to the sheathing behind it. So some of it's up high. The roof, when section of it blew off, I don't remember how many years ago. It was just temporarily repaired. It hadn't been actually professionally gone back and put together. Am I correct?
I believe that is correct. Contracted cash.
Yeah, so I would just suggest that it could be more than that.
But you're thinking that 50 would get it a whole lot further along than it is right now.
I think that it would be really close, without actually coming up
Right.
And
So it's a professional gas.
correct.
Okay. Are there any areas of concern that Kenny has mentioned that either you or Gidget have for concerns on top of what you mentioned?
So I'll chime in, I think through the conversations that I've had with Ken. He has expertise mostly looking at the outside, there is some interior stuff, some drywall and stuff that needs attention, there's some. Tape seams and stuff like that that need attention. That is something, maybe there could be little smaller projects that. I don't know exactly how we would get through it, I'm not gonna say it would be all work details, but there might be a little bit of that is a smaller repair. Than trying to go around and facelift the outside of the building. So that is something that. We might be able to tackle in small pieces as we go through the next handful of years within our. Operating budget of keeping the lights on and keeping things clean. We don't have the means to do an exterior facelift.
So nothing, I mean, what Kenny's sounding like is the potential for structural, if it seeps and rots and stuff like that in terms of a structural issue, but it sounds like yours is more of a cosmetic.
I'll just throw this out though, if you guys remember right there, when we were doing flood repair, we had to do a little bit of extra. Found rough,
Right,
and it was structural,
yeah, right,
so there could be more than that. Now, that was in a very wet conducive area where 2 roofs dump in one spot.
right.
Another option that I was just gonna throw out there that helps, which wasn't thought of, is rain gutters. There's spots on that building that could use rain gutters that would stop the splashback, the constant moisture. And that would be one of the areas, but just,
I mean, and your concern being, I mean, I've been around buildings enough to know that if you let stuff go, it doesn't get any better, it increases in its rate of deterioration,
that's right.
so.
And
So-
like I told RJ too, I mean, you're a firefighter, so you're there a lot, they're there a lot. It's like when RJ invites me over and I sit down, I'm having a burger and a beer on his deck and I look up and say, Jesus, RJ, look at that rotten trim on your window up here. Him and his wife sat there for all summer long, didn't look up, so I see stuff differently than you guys because you're there all the time. So I just, and my eyes about carpentry, and I pointed it instantly to BJ and he's like, whoa, I never noticed that till it's pointed out. Yeah. We just got the inside roof put back together. It looks nice. I think it's time we actually do a little bit to the outside business.
And there's a reason for the rot, right? Basically, there's something that's causing the rot that we're also gonna need to take care of.
That's what's the caulking and then potential for gutters and stuff
That'll
like
take care of that.
20 years old and hasn't been really touched since it was built.
I'm in favor of substance when it costs to save us money down the road.
Agree.
And I think this is one of those things that. It kind of sucks to spend it, but if you don't, it's gonna increase in magnitude. And it's gonna increase at a more rapid rate. As far as the funding source. I personally find that reasonable. Obviously, that amount of money, is not gonna make a difference on whether the water and sewer goes through or not. It's gonna be more money of that period. And to bond for the fire station and also bond for the water and sewer, I think that's. I think it's kind of counterproductive.
I'll just throw out, we also have a garage that we're working on
Right.
and clock tower.
So I will make a motion to set aside $50,000. It'll not look like an economic impact grant. To be allocated for the maintenance. Of the fire department station.
Do I have a second? I have a second, any discussion?
Just, what if the quote comes in more than 50?
Well, then we'll have to revisit it. I would say that we would concentrate on 1 or 2 of the processes.
Basically, like start with the rot and the paint and then work our way.
Um,
To at least
There would be somebody, we'd have to get some bids, so
Right.
somebody's gonna look at it, they're gonna have to do a little exploratory opening. You know, if we have to pull 2 pieces, 3 pieces of trim off, so they can all get a look to see if the sheets and the structure behind it.
Right.
That may have to happen. That's how you, or you accept a contract with unforeseen costs of the.
Well, I mean, we gotta keep the building up, so it's.
You weren't here when we did it this last year there, but there was a corner over towards the bridge and it was foot and a half up, rotted pretty good, RJ.
Yeah.
Once we looked at it, it looked like trim. We moved some trim and then through the plywood studs, plates.
Oh, I
So-
believe, yeah, I have no doubt there's problems. That's with the building. I have mixed feelings about gutters. It's only because ice. And then we gotta deal with a long gutter full of ice and the water backs up and that creates another problem, but we can address that down the road, but.
My suggestion would be rain gutter basically in that one corner.
Not the whole building, just there is a corner where it all comes down and there's a pitch, there's a dome roof that's creating an issue.
And then there's a main door and the pavement and everything's right up close to it, so the rest of it's got a 2-foot drop.
See, I know pavement.
You know what causes housing problems. Okay,
They,
any other discussion? Steve?
No?
BJ? No. All in favor? Motion passes. So. I'll meet up with you and your officers, try to figure that out whenever you guys. Let me know, I'll make it work, I'll meet up.
To make a list of priorities.
Yeah.
That's exactly, that'll help me too.
Yep.
I will
Excellent.
get together, and we got a couple things coming up in the next week and a half, so. Maybe hopefully by the time we get to your next meeting.
Yep, sounds good to me. Thank you, guys, I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Okay,
No members here.
any members of the public,
No members.
early. Treasury report.
Report.
Jump out at you, Rosemary?
That's the electric department.
That's the standard. How much are we losing now?
Total sales for the year were 97.68% of budgeted. Have not received our final. Power purchase bill for December yet. That will be at the end of January.
Have you identified anything that's really hit? I mean, I know it's hard with the electrical department, but anything specific that we need to be paying closer attention to for budget?
Power supply. It's a bad thing. It's power, it's all power supply. It's hitting everybody,
Oh, I get that. I get that.
you know. It's, and well, I say it's all power supply. It's counted as power supply, but that includes all the stuff that the legislature's throwing down our necks and that, you know, is unnecessary cost that counts under power supply. But
What are General Department building? 107, page 3. 179% of it.
That's the one in for the lower storage.
Okay, all
That's up 22,000.
Yeah.
Have we gotten any checks for them? Yeah.
Insurance.
Just insurance. Insurance covered all lower storage?
yes,
On the village sewer chart, the own use meters, what's that? I noticed that's almost double. November was from any time.
where you at?
This,
Oh, you're on a different thing.
So, back on the insurance really quick. Not to bug you, BJ,
Sure, go
but, have we split that deductible with the town yet? Lower storage?
No.
So we're gonna do that one, they're gonna do all of this here. Have you heard that conversation at all?
Heard that.
So I think for books purposes, we ought to be having them pay half that deductible, don't you all? Yeah, we insure the lower storage. They insure this, but we pay the 50%, they pay the 50%.
But
But
or
it's
either that or we pay that one and they pay this one, because they're both the same.
correct, that would be all that come out of the village pocket, correct?
Prices on both are the same to where it wouldn't.
They're
make a
both
difference.
$1,000.
I understand, but are they at that stage here yet?
What's that?
Or have they gotten to that stage here yet? This building's done.
I don't know.
So have they received a check for this building yet? So then. I guess Eric should reach out and make sure that there's an official conversation about the swap of funds or the. We do that one, they do this one for the record purposes.
Yep.
Cause that was supposed to, that was what was agreed upon, is we got together at the end and split damages. Or what wasn't covered or refunded. So.
No, you're fine.
That makes sense, you guys, or am I just thinking?
Have a conversation.
Yep.
Paper trail anyway.
Yep.
You could probably also inform, have you told Tom we haven't really done a whole lot on the clock tower yet. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at jumping more into that this month, so
Yep. I've got.
end of this month.
It's a leak like recently.
What's that?
The water has a leak recently.
Water's a little hard right now.
Yeah.
So, the own use meters, what is that? Just out of curiosity.
What's in the
Oh.
charge?
Those are no charge meters. That's because they're, you don't charge yourself.
Okay, so it doesn't matter, cause I just see that it's like 2,400 and it goes to 4,500, like, it's a big jump, so did we just use extra water that, extra sewer that?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, like, fire department may have filled trucks.
Gotcha, okay, so it's nothing we have to worry.
Right, it's just, we track the water usage, but it's not billed.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And then the next line, the contract meters Osgood, what does that mean?
Good, well. Must be.
Yes, they do not pay a water bill.
Right,
That was in there.
that's part of
We
the,
approved last month, right?
that's part of the deed for the land or whatever for the water treatment facility.
So now would now be the time to, just out of curiosity, the incident that happened with all the water being used at the skating rink?
It'll be in his report.
Okay, perfect. I don't see it.
Yeah, I didn't
You
actually,
don't need
Did that
to-
happen this winter, or are we talking
Yeah.
about?
I
last year?
didn't actually,
Oh, geez.
yeah, I was actually gonna talk about that.
Okay,
I can just talk about it now. So,
well, let's let Rosemary finish hers.
okay,
You want to go in the budget status report?
If, I'm good with, if you're telling me everything's in line right now.
Got a few more bills. Just the bills for December are still coming in. So back on that set one. Coming out.
Oh, where is I'm not seeing the accounts and the missing.
I got them out.
Oh, sorry, it was, thank you, slower my way.
Last week, Susan and Darla, we did a class on W2s. For half a day, so we've got all of those W2s done. And this week, we're gonna do a class on retirement remittance. And reporting, so the Beamer's retirement. That probably gonna be another half a day.
this is
For the
all the
training?
village treasurer training.
So we have SOP for those?
Susan's writing one up for the, we did it on Friday, I don't know if she's had a chance to do it.
Okay, have we done any end of the year training? For fiscal or closing out the year or anything like that, since there's only so many end of years we have left?
We have to go through our.
Okay.
I'm assuming there's some kind of a trust bank account for the retirement, where it goes, the retirement remittances.
The state administers all the.
Okay, so the state take care of it.
Yeah, as soon as she's done with those, will you send me it? Thanks. Perfect.
Any other questions for Rosemary?
I'll set it for now.
Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you.
I don't see where we'd need Rosemary on here for anything else.
Yeah, the roads have potential being hairy. I'd agree.
I think it's something else.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate it.
So I'll proceed the written report with discussion that BJ brought up. So this past Saturday, I didn't write it down because, well, I think I pretty much took care of it with some fairly decent finality anyway. Huh?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, well, if not, he'll deal with it, he'll deal with the fallout. The Ryan Rhinitis, who fills the fills and maintains the pool at Legion Field. Yes, it's a skating rink, yeah. Well, it depends on what temperature it is, actually.
What was that?
Apparently it was the pool.
Took it upon himself to, instead of just using his specified, frost-free maintenance hydrant, accessed fire hydrant, and dumped about 120,000 gallons of water that didn't end up filling the skating rink. He only filled about an inch. He, judging from our chart, he had that thing open pretty hard for, well, 4 to 6 hours.
And Darrell, just so you know, we had the thing last year where he was not supposed to get into the water unless a fire department person was with him, correct?
Or us, or utility.
Or utility, somebody was with him,
Right.
he was not allowed to fill up the skating rink.
Nobody's supposed to. Now, if I
That's
remember
right.
correctly, he was told that specifically.
He was standing right here, yes.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
he wasn't happy with it, but it was told straight.
This is the reason, the
So-
other,
So he does on Saturday evening. Well,
So he must have turned it on and then went away for a while.
I can only assume he left it, unsupervised, and the wall collapsed and it just spilled out. And he wasn't there to turn it off. That's all. I haven't had a chance to discuss it with him. My action was to write an email to him, to our chair and vice chair, the select board chair, the town administrator, making it, uberly clear that no one besides a fire department or a village utilities crew member touches fire hydrant for any reason, as per, and I gave him the full language from the water ordinance, and that the next time, the water ordinance will be enforced in full. And he'll be fined personally. I also calculated, with Nate's help, mostly Nate, we calculated both the water loss and personnel time and invoiced the town for over $1,700.
so I'm assuming alarms went off and they got notice that the reservoir was running.
So Nate was already in and Jeff came in. And so we only give a partial charge for Nate because Nate was plowing snow. Yeah.
And that's a hard thing, we have a whole bunch of water loss, our guys don't know, or no one knows.
Oh,
that
they were looking
they're
over
using
town
it.
for a water break.
Yeah, they're
Exactly.
going out for that.
Absolutely. Yep. I'm texting RJ Monday morning. It's like, hey, you guys have a fire? It's like, nope. Okay. Just to make sure it wasn't just him. You know, cause it could, things happen.
Well, now I know why when I was walking by there, I walked by there a couple of times last week and I was wondering why the skating rink wasn't being used, because it was good conditions for freezing.
Yeah,
Now,
So
so
can you reiterate?
if he does it again,
Can you reiterate the action that you did take?
yep. We invoiced for the water loss and the man hours. Which to include their benefits, their billable rate.
Yeah.
And I wrote an email outlining that, what the water ordinance says, and it will be enforced strictly, that only a fire department, say a firefighter under direction of a Johnson fire officer, which opened it up for a neighboring firefighting department, should there be mutual aid, they'd still be under direction of your officers.
Yeah.
Or a Johnson Utilities crew member may access a Johnson fire hydrant.
It's virtually what the wording of the ordinance is.
Right. And I attached a copy of the ordinance and told them to, reference section 7.
Now, were you here when we had this discussion with him last time, Eric?
I don't believe I was for some.
So this was when you were on the board last time, so it wasn't last year, it was several
No, it was
years.
a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
And, okay, so
no.
he was told.
Oh, I understand. I understand
And it was
he
made
don't
clear-
listen well.
And that is why that other water valve setup went in.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, like I said, we'll just find them next time, and I might even talk to the sheriff's department about theft of services charge.
It'd be more with
Done with
tampering
it.
with emergency equipment.
Yeah, done with it.
But
But that's the service is an actual,
Well, it's water.
right, and I know it's an actual, I mean, as far as, it's. You're breaking the law by theft services or whatever like that, but theft of goods. So that's legitimate. As far as, I'm not sure if there's any legal ramifications for jeopardizing fire and health, not just health, but
I
fire
don't know.
safety
I mean-
and stuff like that.
The ordinance is $100 fine for first offense. But it goes up after that.
so it's up to the town to have they have to do any disciplinary fines or,
So I spoke with Evan about that.
what is he?
It's not really even, they didn't tell him to do it, it's not really part of any of their boards.
So what is he part of, or who is he part of?
Yeah,
It was a volunteer to get the skate thing going, I guess, it's my understanding, so. So Evan's gonna look into it more, what I would like to have done for this matter is to have Eric send him a certified letter. Because without us taking action this time, because an email isn't gonna cut it. I think a certified letter with your email, and it should be signed by the board of trustees, is what I feel. Tell them that we will take legal actions if he touches any of them again. I'm pretty sure every person at this table wants that skate park here.
Agreed.
I had a discussion by myself with RJ about it, and in the past, the fire department used to do this, and my understanding was
Decades,
you guys liked it.
for decades we did.
And it was stopped when Duncan was manager. So I would like to have you have a conversation with the fire department about restarting that action and maybe do some research as to why it was stopped. Was it liability? If that's the case, a simple sign that says skate at your own risk at each end of it will cover that.
I don't know if there is,
Were they maintaining it or just filling it the first?
No, I think you guys used to just fill it, and you used to use younger recruits to train, weren't you?
it was something that we did on a volunteer basis. I don't know if we have the manpower to do that now, but I'm not trying to speak out of turn, but saying it's not a slam dunk.
Yeah.
That we'd be able to do that again.
Okay.
So like I said, that's just me personally speaking, that's nothing to do with, anything official with our department. So where I want to get with this here is that we're out $1,700 basically for product and services. If the town, if he's not working or his actions aren't directed by the town, that bill needs to go to him, period. And I think that $100 fine, because this is not like a, oops, we forgot to tell you, he was told in a meeting,
Mhm.
I want that $100 fine. Because it's not, that's the first time offense, this is not the first time, this is the second time. I want him fined $100. And if that $1,700 became recruit from the town because they're saying they're distancing it from his actions, that bill needs to go to him. Period.
So see what Eben comes back with, and if it doesn't fall in part of the town. Go to him, but if it does fall in part of the town, then that bigger part goes to him, the $100 goes to the
So-
guy, the 17 goes to the town.
Instead of the, saying next time you'll get fined.
No, I'm
It's
saying,
this time.
I'm saying he gets fined this time, this is
Okay.
not the first
Cause
time.
I was actually gonna go off your certified letter idea and say, this one counts as your first, so next time will be a subsequent.
This is
offense.
actually the next time, because we've
Yeah.
already done it before.
Yeah,
So
Do we-
I certified letter with a $100 fine for operating the hydrant against the policy. And
But can I just jump in real quick?
yeah,
So our water and lights commissioner has already told him. It was warning.
okay,
That's my only concern. He sent the email with my authority because he contacted me.
Okay.
And I said send an email.
so given that's been done,
We sent it
right,
to
so
him
I can get a
already?
certified letter and say, consider this this was your first offense. Any future will be a subsequent offense, which is a higher fine.
We're not just a town.
Yeah.
we're waiving a $100 fine. The certified letter should say we're waiving the $100 fine this time.
Right,
I'm gonna say the water and lights commissioner already did.
Okay, I'm just saying, in the certified letter.
that reiterates it, so you know that he knows that next time it's not the first
It's not
fine.
the $100 fine.
But
Right,
that being said, if the town separates himself from this action, then 17 does go to him.
That has nothing to do with the fine, that's
Agreed.
that's a matter of,
The
so
individual.
having given him a waive on the fine this time. Is separate from the actual cause of damage.
Correct.
So, and I don't know if you want a motion, or if you want a consensus of the board, or what
Consensus
you
is
want
fine.
to do with that, but.
since it's fine, and on the letter, I mean, you guys can sign it, but as the water and sewer commissioner,
I get it.
I've got the authority.
Correct, but if it was legal action, how would we have to go about that? Would the board have to get involved, or do
I
you
don't
get to
think
take
so.
it from there?
As water and sewer.
I have no
commissioner-
issues with it. That's why I let you
Yeah.
proceed when we talk.
As water and sewer commissioner, it's within my authority.
My only concern is I'm not saying the town's not gonna pay for this because you
Of
did
course.
send a bill, right?
Right.
I'm just saying that the
Well-
conversation I had with Evan and he's
Well-
kind of like, well, I don't even know how this works with that one.
Yeah,
And I understand
I
that.
actually took it back and get resent tomorrow, because I realized that there was a miscalculation, I want to make it right.
I have a question. When you had, after the first time this happened, which I think was a couple of years
It
ago,
was
wasn't
pre-me, yep.
it? And you had the meeting with him and explained the policy. Did you make him sign anything, or is there any kind
So that
of
was-
written
that was-
record of
that was
that?
Before me,
Yeah, Will was chair then, so it'd be a matter of minutes.
It was right during one of our meetings.
before me.
Okay,
You were.
And he
because I don't remember it.
Yeah, he argued with us about it, and he had some people here arguing with us about it, and literally we had to make it point, no, this is the way it's gonna be done.
And so, and he signed something?
No.
You
No.
just-
I wasn't here.
Oh, he did.
Direct order said you needed to be accompanied by a fire department or water and light.
But we do have a written record of that, we
Yeah,
said it to him.
minutes.
We did not send no written
No,
record
He
to him.
was
He was here
physically
first.
present.
Oh,
He was told not.
So it's in the minutes, it
Yeah,
would be in the
minutes.
minutes.
So physically, he's physically present, he's told not to touch the hydrants,
Uh-huh.
and it's also our policy,
Uh-huh.
It's
so.
ordinance.
Ordinance, sorry, ordinance policy, so I mean, there's no gray area, this is very fucking black and white.
Mhm.
And it's standard. It's not
And
an
it- and it-
exception
and it-
for the village of
And
Johnson.
it even says in the ordinance, if for some reason that you are given permission, you only do so by, with, coordination with
Yeah.
us. I mean,
Well,
you
there was
don't
no
do it, you don't
permission
just
given,
do
so
it,
That's not a matter. So
right?
I don't think we need to make a motion, but I think we consensus for the board for Eric to send a certified letter.
Yep,
Yes.
Yes,
And,
also,
and should he wait until the town either rejects the bill or?
I would say, I'd like a consensus that if the town rejects the bill, then the bill goes to Brian.
In the certified letter
Put
or
that in the letter.
after, or
Do the certified letter first. This is two separate actions. We sent a bill out to the town who we assume he's acting for. Until they tell us different, then there's nothing to action on. But I'm saying that if they come back and say he acted independent, he is not representing the town at all, we are not paying this bill, then that bill needs to go to Brian directly.
Cause this doesn't fall
Agreed.
under like their rec committee, which probably has
The
insurance.
town's gonna sort that out.
yeah.
Uh-huh, okay.
So if they come back and say, we this has nothing to do with us. He's acted as an independent, and at that point there, I'd like the board to, authorize, but she recommends that you send a bill to Brian. And I'm in favor of it.
Steve, you in favor?
Yes.
BJ? Okay, so Eric, so you send him a certified letter?
Yep.
Plan, cease and desist, never again.
Give the $100, but next time it's gonna cost them.
Yep.
Okay.
What is the next fine?
What's that?
What is the next fine?
I think it's 150.
Finish your report.
All right. The Vermont,
I got a football game going in.
Vermont Public Power Supply Authority came in and did an article and photo shoot highlighting Marla's NEPA Customer Service Award. You know, the verbiage of that article is next in this packet and can be seen on vipsa.org website, along with some pictures. The water and light crew and equipment billing rates were brought up to current. The old and new rates are attached right behind Marla's award. And on that, some different ones that some of there's other municipalities that are, well, not up to date like ours either. Ours was. One that was better. So believe it or not, our biggest customer for manpower and equipment had much more up-to-date rates than we did. So for the most part, we adopted Hyde Park's rates. So I don't see them balking at the rate chart since it's theirs. Yeah, it's like, we'll just use their rate chart. So that's what we did.
You've gone through and updated all the,
Yeah, all the
That's great.
manpower and the equipment rates.
thanks for bringing that up, Darrell.
Yep. So, where it is. FEMA came out, did a site visit for the DR 4810 project, the utility pole behind Union Bank. They took mine and Nate's input, pictures, measurements, and the project's being processed. The Water and Light project, Water and Light Garage project is turning forward. We have weekly meetings on it and it remains on schedule. Nate just ordered one and purchased, purchased one he ordered one purchased in 3 rental storage containers for moving their stuff out of the garage. We're keeping one to keep stuff that doesn't need to be kept heated to reduce clutter in there. And the rest of them will be, once we're done, the project will be, set back.
Is that those ones that they sell at Clay Hill, or is this somewhere else?
No,
Nope.
probably
Hadn't got them yet.
ship ones.
This is from Iron Box.
The iron ones, aunties.
Yep. I said, the purchase one will stay.
One tall over, so you're going up the wall.
And on the garage, still on the garage draft RFP. For construction. Will be sent to me next Tuesday. We'll have basically a short week. To provide comments or adjustments. I'm suggesting a review group of Nate, Alec Jones, which is our project manager, myself and Ken. To review it all independently and meet next Thursday at some time. To consolidate any changes we wish to make. We've got a pretty tight timeline on this. Because we want to keep it on schedule and we got to get it to rural development so they can do their review and adjustments and we get it on the street. So I don't know if it was Thursday. Does anytime Thursday work for you? Perfect. Awesome. Budget work dominates my time currently. I met with Chief West and Gidget Dolan Dodge on the JFD budget they presented tonight. Other budgets are in early stages of development. LCPC is seeking a volunteer to serve as the village trustee liaison to the Johnson Visioning Project funded through the VNRC's small grants for small growth. LPCP provides grant and project management services to the village and is in the process of pulling together a core group of local officials to assist with structure, process, and logistics. These individuals will attend 3 to 4 critical check-in meetings. Ideally, the group would include a select board liaison, board of trustees liaison, planning commission liaison, and the community economic development coordinator. Would the board like to discuss interests, and if it pleases, appoint a trustee as the village trustee liaison to the Johnson Visioning Project?
Actually, that was the one I was talking to BJ about. And my reasoning was because all that's gonna be hitting. And then giving you a head start on that. Where I had a head start on a couple of the other ones, but I didn't. Sounds like so they're only meeting 4 times.
Oh, my God.
We just don't know what days or anything, you know.
Nope. And it would be, can we do this day? Can we do that day? Or you could do it by Zoom, I'm sure. So. That was just.
Yeah, I can do that.
You do it, right?
So you guys wanna
Unless Steve
appoint
wants to-
him?
I think
We appointed him by consensus?
consensus.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Steve?
I agree.
As long as BJ agrees.
Doesn't matter, you vote it out.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, if it gets overwhelming too, you can just holler at me and we'll do it, so.
Beautiful. Any questions? Beautiful.
Perfect.
Hey, question for you, Eric.
Can the,
Uh,
designated complaint something right now?
how are we with handbook? Or I know a while ago we were talking about updating
seem
the
enthused, but-
employee handbook or whatever, kind of bringing it to the 21st century.
Mhm.
Have we got anywhere with that yet?
Oh,
With
yeah,
everything, or
I
just
did
not on that?
some
that
work a while
went
ago, but
Oh, yeah.
right now, budget is budget. is
Yeah, and
budget
I
is
get
budget.
that.
Alright, do we wanna, we can either,
Do I get a motion?
shall trustees assign the village manager as a designated complaint recipient for alleged violations of municipal code ethics? I don't think you can be it. That's what, our
Think he can be it?
no,
Why?
because,
I'm
if they have an ethical complaint about Rosemary, he's her boss. They have an ethical complaint about Susan, he's her boss.
Okay, let's table that then.
Well, then it can't be us then, because we're all the ones.
It could be one of the board members.
I'd suggest we table it till next month
Yeah.
and I'll clarify.
Was I hitting on it right? You remember me and you were kind of having this discussion.
Yeah, because we're going back and forth because it was so freaking confusing.
I'll
So
call
let's
them.
table that one.
I'll talk to them and get guidance.
We have a while to do it. We're just trying to get ahead of it. I don't think we have quite that long
No, we'll get right on
for
it.
that, but. Okay, so we'll table that. We'll table the,
Stupid class.
Ethics code. you will once you get reelected. Yeah, you were appointed. Or no, you did run.
No, he was reelected.
But
He
you
was
ran
elected.
in the middle of a term, right?
He's not up this coming year.
Yeah. Oh, you do, that's right.
Right.
Okay, so yes, but yes, after April, after April, any new trustees have to be,
The current trustees have until September.
we all do, yeah, everybody, but any new ones, actually, no, current trustees have till.
That was September.
We'll double
Yeah,
check,
September 25th.
I thought that was new
New,
trustees,
new was gonna do it right away, right?
110 days.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't take long.
It's. We got 3 of us compliant already, so. We're on the right track, so we'll keep going and hammer it down. Okay, website update.
Yeah, cause you got, cause like you don't even have to do
I
it.
know I don't have to do
I
that.
have an issue taking the ethics class.
Yeah, right.
I
don't know why
No, it's
I lost my.
35-minute video. You're gonna fall asleep. Ready notes that I could use. It's common full text.
He's not here yet. Oh, he's in the waiting room. Admit. I just put him, he's coming in.
So a couple of small things for the website, we've been working on it for about a month now. And we're probably like 10% is all.
Come back when you're better.
What?
Come back when you're more done.
Oh, yeah, I'm just letting you know that that's where we're at. Tech group, okay, the email. This is the difference. So right now in 2023. Our portion is $816. The total monthly portion for both us and the town, $9,794. Last year, we paid $836 a month. Total portion is $10,034. Okay, if we go by ourselves with no part of the town or anything, with all the migration and everything, we're gonna have a one-time fee of $7,875, and then we're gonna have roughly a $10,000 monthly bill. If what we have now, we can add a Johnson email to it, and it's just another avenue. The migration and everything is only gonna be $1,225, and then we're still gonna share, so we're only gonna have roughly $30 or whatever it's gonna be this year. And we don't have to worry about, I know you guys were talking about with FEMA, if we go this route, what they'll do.
Multiple
is-
feeds.
Yeah, it'll be, the town email will be the, what is it, not liaison, but, hey, Josh, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
How do you have a monthly of $816
I think it's year.
and a monthly of $900?
It's year
This is our half,
of a monthly bill,
sorry.
year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's basically 1,700 a month, and the year would be the 10. This was 860 or 16, and the yearly would be the 9794.
Now that's the village's tech, not both.
This is ours, this is both, our half. Our. I don't know.
It's half that, right?
The what?
It's half that number over there.
Yes,
Right, so right now, we pay $836 a month.
$836 a month as of 2024, which it could go up, but he said.
And that's,
Okay, so can you
Right
change
now-
that total monthlies to annual, please? Because that's just wrong.
yeah, I mean,
You wanna do?
just
Yeah.
change the word.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
alright, so the numbers you have up there are just ours or both, the town and.
Just ours.
So that's half the cost, so it's $20,000 a year for tech?
Yeah.
So if we go with the other, now what are you saying down there?
This is just a one-time fee, like when we're doing the websites.
That's
One-time
bill.
fee, and then we stay in here.
But that, so the 7,000,
7,000 if we want our own website, 100% separated, we're like, no, we're not gonna share. The unit with the town, and we wanna be by ourselves, then we're gonna have this one-time fee. And along with
Alright, so-
1,700 a
you
month.
confused me, so it's not website, you're talking about email and
Tech group, email.
Alright, so
Sorry, I
it has nothing to do with our website.
Nothing to do with the website, it's tech group, email, that's it.
So right now, we pay $10,000 a year for tech. For when he sends in an official complaint and stuff like that, and we hook up our emails. And our email address,
Yes,
That's
only
what-
one email address, the
that's what
town,
I'm saying.
Right, and then, yeah, and all the security, yep.
and all the security that comes with it that they legally have to have being a municipality.
So if we go with Village of Johnson email on the
Yes.
new website, which is basically Office 360, am I correct?
Yeah, it would be the same.
365, whatever.
Yeah, it's the same, and it has nothing to do with the website, it's a separate entity.
So once a year. Or for just to set it up, it's $7,875.
The initial setup, which is migrating all the information, if we're by ourselves, they have to pull from what we're using right now, and it's just tedious.
Yes, that will.
If we still share that one where we split the half, it's a lot easier to migrate everything and to go from there, that's why it's so much cheaper, and then we're only paying half. Otherwise, we'll be paying not only this, we'll be paying like $1,700 a month on top of the initial
Here's
payment.
a new spreadsheet.
Let's say, just kind of to clarify on that, so. The cheaper way is also the smoother way,
Yes,
so you'll still have Village of Johnson email address. With the cheaper way. It'll still go with the new website. As far as outside, no one will see any difference.
domain billing.
The only difference is that. It's a seamless transition because everyone's still getting emails sent to them to townofjohnson.com. And they're getting both in the same inbox.
So they'll
It's-
come in, if
it's
somebody
just-
sends,
It's
yeah,
it's much cheaper and it's a bunch better.
if somebody sends me one, town of Putvain, town of Johnson, it'll come to me, right? When I send them a reply, it will reply to them as bjputvain at Village of Johnson. And the system will automatically turn it to the correct one.
Okay, I don't care about that crap.
Okay,
The numbers is what I wanted to kind of make understand.
and Josh with Tech Group is also online, if you wanna ask him anything, he can hear you guys too.
Okay, so. Okay, so we got the whole monthly thing figured out.
Okay.
So that's our current,
That's current, yes,
the 23-24, that's our current.
yes.
So under one time, you've got 1225 for share.
Yep.
Share what?
That's not completely
That's
leaving.
sharing the website, or sharing the account.
Okay,
So the internet and the internet and security package. Staying with them, just getting our own email address.
And you guys, I did send you the paper too earlier this week, if you wanna see that separation.
So did you,
So,
did you check with the town and see if they still wanted us on it?
The what?
The town,
Check with them on what?
to see if they still want us to stay on the Office 360. They are the owners of it. It's-
Yeah, they haven't said nothing to us about getting off, so we haven't, first I thought we were just gonna look into this to see what it would be.
Mhm.
To me, they're saving a shitload of money just by adding the Village of Johnson to that account,
Mhm.
so we both have our
Yeah.
emails and we're both split.
It saves them money too.
Alright,
Yeah.
so they haven't added anything like they did with their crazy website.
What?
They haven't added any expenses to it. They haven't changed the way it was done, updated the way it was done, where it's gonna cost more. That's all.
No, they're just adding, all they're doing is adding our email to that account and everything else is staying the same. That's why we have a one-time fee, but this number will still stay the same because we're not adding anything. Because all the emails we have now, we'll still have, all we're changing is that name.
Right, so if we wanna get our own Office 365 with our own domain name, it's gonna cost us $7,875 one time, then the same a month.
Hold on.
Oh, 17 a month.
No, so you're
So it's a little more.
getting too deep in the weeds. If we have our own domain name. But stay on that account. It's only $1,200.
Correct, I just said, if we get our own,
But so we'll still have our own domain name.
I
Yeah, you know,
understand, I'm
he's
saying if
talking-
we did our complete own, separated that, like we did the website,
Right.
it would be that
Yeah,
much
that's
more. Like,
And
Right.
and 17.
which I don't want to.
Hey, Teddy, and 17 a month.
Right,
We'd be paying no-
double per month plus
17 a month.
1,700.
It's double per month and yeah, because, and guess what? The town will go up.
Yeah,
Per month.
that's-
so it's a no-brainer, there's no reason not to do it.
Right, it's managing, basically, if you split it, we're splitting security costs.
Split it, if we want our own, we're gonna be 17 something, that 10 turns into a 20.
Yeah,
Right,
So virtually that $1,200 is to
$7,000.
get us Village of Johnson email in it, but it's still gonna pop through the Town of Johnson domain.
So
Well, the
I don't
shared-
think
the shared
that's
domain.
why it would make
The
sense
shared,
to
where
go.
we share it now.
yeah,
Why we would go on our own, pay $20,000 a year, 1,700 and $72
Right,
a
I
month.
agree 100%.
right,
And another 7,800 just to
So-
one-time fee.
and the town's bill will skyrocket too, because they have to do,
I mean, if they're not,
both,
if
you know,
they haven't decided
basically,
to kick us
those
off.
are kind of fixed costs per account.
and we're not messing with their accounts or nothing at all,
No,
all they're gonna do. is
Nothing's
switch
good,
our
nothing's
emails.
basically gonna change.
So sharing it benefits us and.
And them,
Oh, yeah, a lot.
100%.
Alright,
So
so
sum it
are
up,
you looking for
I'm looking for approval,
consensus?
yeah, a consensus to do the 1,225. And to get our emails and stay with the town and split, keep our normal split that we have now. Right now, we pay 48% of the overall, the town pays 52%.
so right now you're asking for 1,200 more than what we would be paying. And that's just to acquire villagejohnson.com on our email address.
That's correct, right, Josh?
Yeah. So basically we would set you up. So Microsoft refers to that as a tenant, which is, think of it as the account holder. So we would set you up with Village of Johnson under that Town of Johnson tenant. So if you go into Microsoft, you would see the town of Johnson tenant or the town of Johnson domain, and then you would also see the village of Johnson domain under the same tenant account, whatever you want to call it. It would also be clearer for you guys on for both, honestly, on Microsoft's billing, because they would separate the billing and show the town of Johnson and the licenses they have, the village of Johnson and the licenses they have.
Beautiful.
So there's three options. One, leave it just the way it is.
Correct. Oh, yeah.
Well, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Two, pay $12 to get our own domain name.
Our own emails,
Or three,
total separation,
total separation, which is stupid.
which hurts us.
And it hurts everybody all around. However, I do think that with the new website and all that, the villageofjohnson.com part is not essential, but would be a good thing to keep everything together.
And Josh, how long would
That's
this
just my
process
opinion.
take if we went forward with this?
$1,200.
$12 to change your email.
I have to look at our schedule.
Okay.
If we're just splitting the domain and keeping it under the
No,
Johnson
but
tenant,
it
it's
can
7
make-
hours,
does
so
a
it's
lot
not
of
going to take a
confusion.
lot of time. So we should be able to squeeze you in pretty easily. If we're going to do a full separation, it's going to take a little longer because we have
Every
some
page
big
will-
projects that have come down the road.
It's just.
So the
that's
partial
problem.
separate, or
So now we're-
the 1,200 one, what are you thinking on that? Sorry, I had a hard time hearing you.
Maybe a
Well,
month.
yeah,
that's a
he's gonna
long.
go-
That's a long road, but
Do it though. Go down there and then go
because
through
it's
the-
7 hours, it's not a ton of hard work. We should be able to do it pretty quickly and easily.
Okay, so he did say if we did move forward with this, we're looking at roughly a month. Something like this will take a lot longer time because
That's not an option.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think we're just going on consensus today, because I don't think we need a motion. Because we're not, well.
I think we're actually within Eric's.
If we go with the 1225,
Yes.
we would have to have a motion.
Yep. And I think that 1,200 is in Eric's budget anyways, or in his realm.
Yep.
So what would the board like to do with that? Everybody understand it, or?
I say a motion of 1225 to move forward with emails with the tech group and stay with the town on the tech group.
So let's smooth it out. It would help just make your motion for that to change to Village Johnson email
Yes, Village of
and
Johnson.
stay as norm with the town on Office 365.
Yes,
That would,
that's exactly it.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion?
No, because from what I can see with the town, that they're still lost on what they're doing there.
That's the
Well,
website.
they'll keep their
That's the website.
email.
This is,
Different than the email.
Yeah.
this is tech group, internet security, and email address.
They won't give up their emails. They'll keep their emails.
One benefit to this is they'd have to pull every trustee email, and I don't know how far back they'd have to go. Because they all have to be
To the
preserved.
beginning. That's what would take so much money.
Like Gordy's emails way back.
Mhm.
All them, yeah.
But that's,
If we switched.
right, that's just.
But yeah, I'd like to motion out with having Eric get hold of Josh and start the process moving and hopefully have it done within.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No from Will.
One no, I was waiting for one more answer.
Cause right now we're
Well,
running
just-
under a town. And we are not the town.
I can see that, I'm just trying to justify, just for the name's sake, it's.
Well, cause you think we also doing the email, we're also doing website, we're separating with that and now we're gonna have a Village of Johnson
I'm
website.
saying that website and emails are different, so.
No, I know, I'm not saying that,
Okay.
no, we are
They're
changing, no, we are changing our.
Discussion's over. We have a motion
Oh.
and we had a vote on the floor. Let's finish the vote, and if we have to go back. we'll go
Okay.
back. Darrell? Aye or nay?
I'll go with it,
You're an aye?
yeah.
Motion passes. Roll call. Darrell? Will? Chairs and aye.
I,
Aye.
Stephen BJ, ayes. Motion passes.
No, I was mentioning it, if we're leaving the town of Johnson website and we're gonna have our own website, we might as well have our own email.
And it's just, $200 is not justification to me, that's all. It has, so it doesn't matter.
Who did you have on there?
Oh, that's Josh is on. there.
Josh Pepper.
Josh, thank you. Good luck keeping on this with BJ. We throw a lot of kinks in his armor. We appreciate what you're doing.
We're here to help, guys. Let us know if we can do anything else.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So I brought up to Eric to, since we have a new board member, to explain our salt reduction use and revised sidewalk maintenance policy that we decided on, I think, last year.
Yep, so. Basically. We've got policies set up to make it so the guys don't have to come in on overtime if there's less than 4 inches of snow. That's what the gist of it is.
Yep.
And we just wanted to kind of run that by so you knew it and see if you liked it and.
No, it's policy fine to me as long as. I'm not sure what the liability
Mhm.
is for sidewalks. I know what it is, what I do during the winter
Right,
down in Burlington. I don't know what the liability is.
for
here,
municipalities,
municipalities.
municipalities are very liability shielded. Yeah.
And the guy's done really good about it. We kind of left it up to them to.
Well, I've
See
never
what-
looked at the sidewalk
Yeah.
and been here really down and been like a village. It's-
I'll tell you what,
And the most part, it was directed towards weekends.
right, weekends
Yeah,
and,
the
and,
holidays.
yeah,
As long as the liability is,
yeah, it's fine.
isn't there.
And I tell you what, I've worked in multiple different municipalities and live in one with a sidewalk in front of my driveway.
That's your sidewalk.
My sidewalk's not as nice as here.
I know. That's my.
I walk around a
That's what I'm
lot.
saying.
This is the best place I've ever lived for sidewalks.
Yeah,
Except for, well, Oneonta, where I lived for quite a while. The homeowner was responsible and you got fined, it was attached to your taxes.
Mhm.
That's the only other alternative.
Okay.
But
So,
that's,
yeah, so I obviously, I live in a village, sidewalk from my house. I've never had an issue with the quality of the maintaining of the sidewalks. And I will go beyond liability and I will go by walkability.
Mhm.
It's one thing to be not legally responsible, so another to be responsible to your rate and take
That's
taxpayers. So I think the liability is obviously a concern, but we gotta go above and beyond that, which I think we do.
Exactly.
So,
And I did talk to Nate, when I saw this, I did talk to Nate and he's like, he likes it because he's like, it's not set in stone. This is his guideline. And if they feel something's coming up, they can just take it upon themselves to do what they
Exactly.
feel is right.
If-
So,
if he gets a half an inch and it's ice and he comes in, I'm not giving him any junk about it,
no. His judgment call so far has been reasonable in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Good. I just had him bring it up just to make sure everybody was still on.
and
the
I do
ball.
have another question dealing with, I think it is. We were talking, I don't remember which meeting, but we are talking about how we borrow sand and we are talking about possibly getting our own sand, so we didn't offset with our vehicles or labor or something.
We buy sand, we trade for salt and.
We were talking about getting our own, so we didn't have a,
Not right in
The
this minute.
trade went through so that this winter's taken care of.
okay.
So I'm gonna, the way I understand Eric's dealing with it, correct me if I'm wrong, Eric, is that this summer it's being implemented that there's no more trades. They're gonna invoice back and forth.
Right,
And they're gonna use some of the material removed from our garage to make a new
so
salt.
built a salt shed.
Okay, cool.
We only go through a tandem a year.
Okay, so but the town and village having separate salt sheds.
That's what we don't right now.
I know, is it the path you want to head down?
The town wants us to get our own salt because they don't want, they feel they get screwed on the trades. I don't know. It's the trade and barter thing has come to the light. for a while now.
Unfortunately, because it was
And-
it was a system that's worked for a long time.
And I agree, but
So.
But when your foreman and their foreman make an agreement and then the boards don't know about it and then the boards fight about it.
Which is stupid.
Yep.
Okay, so that aside, so this is coming from the town wanting to separate for financial accountability. Is that where we're at?
Nate says we use a tandem load of salt. Jason says we use 2 tandem loads. So I don't.
So they want the labor from us for 2 tandems where Nate's like, we only use 1, so we're giving, it's the fee.
So, but that's already been dealt with for this winter. They've already done their trade with weed brush. Cut for the town in several locations and traded it out.
So now, obviously, the majority of the salt is not used on the sidewalks. And driveways and stuff like that, I mean, our driveways and stuff like that. Not just-
We don't, the town salts all this stuff. We just salt sidewalks.
Right. Okay.
We file the office, they salt and sand it.
But then, so it's loaded into the Bobcats.
Yeah.
So is it temperature dependent whether you spread, whether we spread sand or salt?
Yeah, you
So
get too
it's
cold,
real
you go
cold,
sand.
We can do sand.
Yeah, because you put salt down, just and also refreezes.
Right,
And all the sand has salt mixed in it.
Right.
Because otherwise it'd be just one big brick.
right.
So just for public comment, I think it's unfortunate that they can't have a sheet to go, you know, a Bobcat bucket is what, a quarter yard, quarter yard, isn't it?
I would-
It depends on the size of the bucket, but.
That's him.
Yeah.
But it's not really a bucket.
It's a
Most
quarter.
are the buckets, the hopper, so the
Yeah, it's
hopper's,
a quarter of a
the
yard.
hopper's actually smaller than a bucket, so.
Right, but I mean, it's too bad I can't go, we use 10 buckets, we scooped 10 buckets today, that is X. They go, okay, how much of salt we'll pay you for it, instead of going, you know, we think you use 2 tandem, you know. It's unfortunate that we have to resort to this doubling up on.
Well, I think you're talking about buying it from them where their issue was the barter part of it.
Right, if they had an issue with the barter system, then. Which I personally think the foremans have handled that and they have a day-to-day experience with what's going on, they know what things are worth. If they're not okay with that, then obviously we can't force them to barter. But I think it would be reasonable to go, okay, keep track of how many buckets of salt you use and then just. You know, it's so much a ton and or a yard and you use this many yards and we just write them a damn check. As opposed to having to. You know, make a separate salt shed, but if that's, I mean, it's their right. So if that's the path they have to head down, I just wanted to say publicly that I think it's a damn shame that it has to go down this path.
Well, my concern isn't just that, it's that you get into stuff like when they're borrowing the electric department's chipper to chip something on Wickham's.
Well, at least our rates are high now.
Well, anyways, you missed the borrowing part.
No, yeah, well, I mean, it's, I mean.
So we're getting out of just the
like
general
$1,800
department,
bucks.
that would be in the general department, so I agree 100%. So I see problems with it with using electric and water and lights equipment, that's where I see the problem with it, because them are separate enterprises.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes into the trouble. Other than that. I don't personally see a difference besides having to have the guys waste a little time building the shed.
I know,
I agree with you though.
It's just semantics that I think is childish and.
So we could try this, we could ask our manager to sit down with their manager and see if they could come up with some kind of written agreement. And get both boards to approve it,
Well, I
Why
like
can't we
Will's,
just buy a load of salt
that's what we're.
and
moving
have
into.
it dumped in there?
Yeah.
You buy a load of salt and say, hey, well, can we use to store the salt? We'll call Barrett's, have them deliver a load of salt. And.
Then it'll end up on the roads,
Uh,
then it'll end up on the roads.
yeah, then
well, if we're using what they figure is a 1 tandem load a year, if we buy a tandem load. I mean, we don't necessarily have to, it doesn't have to be like this little pile of ours, I mean, we
That's-
standardly use a tandem.
but
That's where the
But
problem
that's what
lies.
One saying a tandem, one saying 2.
Right.
That's why I'm saying it'd be easy to go,
Yeah.
we use 30.
We already buy our own sand at
You're
first.
keeping track. Right, but.
We don't use
but
their
that's-
sand
but
because it
that-
fucks up
that's
our
not a path you
spread.
wanna go down, then, like I said, building a salt shed. is
Different
different.
from old days to.
Yeah.
We have the material.
Oh, yeah, they'll use old utility poles and tin off of the building.
So why don't you, maybe just while this is going on. Then tell them have powwows, see if you do come up with something that is ironclad, so there's no more complaining from either side.
Well, the problem is Jason
By
doesn't
now,
answer the
it's gonna
Tom
be an ironclad, I understand, but
at all.
they say Nate gives them a hard time, it doesn't matter.
Nate, Jason doesn't answer Tom in the least. It doesn't matter what Tom says.
Well, Tom would have to take it to his board and then Jason will have to listen.
What happened with a tractor thing? Did that ever go anywhere?
Not yet.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright, I think
so by 2 seconds.
that covers everything on our agenda. No,
We got,
You better put on the agenda.
we're gonna enter executive session.
I move that we enter executive session as allowed by 1 VSA 313A2, negotiating or securing real estate purchases or lease.